Hey everyone! Ever wanted to design and test something really complex, like a car's suspension or a new kind of robot, but without having to write thousands of lines of code? Well, that's exactly what we're diving into today with MATLAB Simulink. It's a super powerful way to turn your ideas into visual, interactive models. If that sounds cool, you're in the right place. Let's get into it.
So here's the game plan for today. First up, we'll cover what Simulink actually is. Then, we're going to get our hands dirty and create our very first model from scratch. We'll check out the essential sources and sinks libraries, basically the inputs and outputs of any system. And to wrap it all up, we'll put all those pieces together and look at a really cool PWM controller example. All right, let's kick things off with the most important question. What exactly is Simulink? And what makes this whole visual block diagram thing so powerful? At its heart, Simulink is all about building with blocks instead of writing lines of code. It's a graphical environment inside MATLAB that's perfect for modeling dynamic systems, and that's just a fancy way of saying things that change over time. You know, like a rocket flying through the air, a battery charging, or signals in a circuit. It's like having a virtual whiteboard where you can sketch out your ideas, hit play, and instantly see how they behave. Okay, enough theory. Let's jump right in and actually build something. You're about to see just how fast you can go from a totally blank screen to a living, working model. Getting started is honestly so simple. First, you just fire up MATLAB. Then, you can either just type Simulink right into the command window, or even easier, just click the Simulink icon in the toolbar. From there, you just go File, New, Model, and boom, you've got your blank canvas ready for action. And here's exactly what that looks like inside MATLAB. See? You've got both options right there waiting for you. The command window for the typers, and that nice big icon for the clickers. Both get you to the exact same place. The moment you launch it, you're greeted by these two windows, and they're both super important. On the left, that's your library browser. Seriously, think of this as your ultimate toolbox. It's packed with every component, every block, every little piece you could ever need. And on the right, that's your canvas. That's your playground, where you're going to assemble all those amazing parts. And this is the part that feels like magic. The whole process is literally just drag and drop. You find the block you need in that giant library. You click and hold, drag it over to your model, and let go. That's it. You're officially building a model. Now, once you have a few blocks on your canvas, there are really only 3 basic moves you need to master. To connect them, you just drag a line from the little arrow on one block to an arrow on another. Easy. Mess up? No problem. Just click the block and hit the delete key. And if you want to change how a block works, just double-click it, and a whole settings window will pop right up. So we have our canvas, but it's empty. Every system needs some kind of input, right? A signal to get the ball rolling. And that, my friends, is where the sources library comes in. This is where it all begins. And wow, this library is just filled with goodies. This is where you find all of your signal generators. You've got everything from a simple constant number to step functions to all kinds of crazy wave generators. You can even find blocks that pull in data straight from a file. It's got everything you need to start your simulation. Let's talk about a real classic, the step block. This block is perfect for testing how your system reacts to a sudden change. It's like asking your model, hey, what happens if I just flip this switch from off to on right now? You can set the before value, the after value, and the exact time it happens. Another absolute fundamental is the sine wave block. I mean, the name says it all, right? It creates a perfect continuous sine wave. You get total control over the amplitude, the frequency, the phase, everything. It's essential if you're modeling anything with vibrations or, say, an AC electrical circuit. But what if you don't want to use a perfect computer-generated signal? What if you have actual data from a real-world experiment? Well, that's where the from file block becomes your best friend. This thing is a game changer. It lets you feed your model with signals you've saved in a file so you can test your design against reality. And here's where it gets really clever. You can create a complete data pipeline. Imagine you design one model that generates a really complex specific signal. You can save that output to a file using a two-file block. Then, in a completely different model, you can use the from file block to pull that exact same signal back in. It makes your tests perfectly repeatable every single time. And the result? Well, it's pretty much exactly what you'd hope for. You connect that from file block to a visualizer, which we call a scope, and there it is. The identical sawtooth wave we had in our data file. You're basically just hitting play on a pre-recorded signal and feeding it right into your new system.
Okay, so we've got signals going in. That's half the equation. But how do we see what's actually happening inside our model? For that, we need to head over to the Sinks library. This is all about watching what's going on. Now, the undisputed king of the Sinks library is the scope block. This block is your window into the simulation. You absolutely have to know this one. It's just like an oscilloscope you'd find on a lab bench. It plots your signals over time so you can visualize exactly how your system is performing. It's an absolutely essential tool. Now, the scope is the main event, for sure. But there are a few other handy sinks. To Workspace is great because it sends your simulation data right back into the main MATLAB environment for more analysis. To File is the other half of what we saw before. It saves your results. And the Terminator? Well, that's just good housekeeping. It helps you cleanly end any signal lines you aren't using so you don't get any annoying warnings. All right, we have our canvas, we have our inputs from the sources library, and we have our outputs in the Sinks library. We have all the basic building blocks. So now, let's put it all together and build something useful. Okay, so what you're looking at here is a model of a pulse width modulation controller. We just call it PWM for short. This is a super common technique for controlling things like motor speeds or LED brightness. Now, I know it might look a little complicated at first, but if you look closely, you'll start to see a bunch of the familiar blocks we literally just talked about. So how does it work? Well, a step block gives us our control signal. That signal gets compared against a really fast-moving triangular wave, which is made by this repeating sequence block. Then a relay block acts like a super fast switch, turning the output on or off based on which signal is bigger at any given moment. And of course, we've got our good friend the scope hooked up to see it all happen. And here is the payoff. We double-click that scope, and this window pops up. This is so cool. The top graph shows our two inputs, the flat line from the step block and that triangular wave. But the bottom graph, that's the result. It's a digital signal, a train of pulses, and you can see how the width of each pulse is being controlled by the input. That is PWM in action.
And there you have it. In just a few minutes, we went from a totally blank canvas to a working PWM controller. We learned how to add inputs, how to visualize the results, and how to connect everything in between. You now have the fundamental building blocks to start exploring on your own. So, the only question left is, what dynamic system are you going to simulate first?